Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Ringside Report MMA. Tonight on the show, we got a UFC Vegas 60 preview. Sandhagen versus Yadong. And the ADCC is this weekend. Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G. And Freddie's going to give us an update on NASCAR. Let's do it.
Let's go!
Oh, yeah, throwing a lot at you. On a Thursday night, throwing a lot of information at you. There's a UFC this weekend. There's a gigantic jiu-jitsu event. And there's a big boxing match, Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady Golovkin. AJ D'Alessio has chips. Freddie?
KFC chips. I've never seen those.
Me neither.
Exactly, man. That's what I was waiting for you guys to say.
Nice.
These are not just chips. These are KFC chips.
You get
Take a
these
look
in
at the
Canada?
kernel, man. I actually, believe it or not, Lucy just brought them to me, and I'm like, this is the shit that Dave and Fred eat. But I'm like, I'm not going to like it. I took one bite. I'm like, man, it tastes really good. So this is it, Ruffles. Not sponsored by Ruffles on the Ringside Report Show, but they're damn good. Here we go. The Colonel is there.
They should give us Ruffles for free. Come on, Ruffles. Send us.
Come on, man.
Send
Listen,
us some
man,
chips.
you know what? Freddie, you're absolutely right. If there was anybody that was talking shit about like the KFC, it was us. We were the first guys to say KFC at the UFC. And then next thing you know, they started making all kinds of commercials. You know, I'm not talking shit. I'm talking real, man.
I think you're talking.
You know that, Dave.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know that, Dave.
I haven't
seen
seen
that.
them.
You were like, you never saw the French commercials of KFC at the UFC. Come on, Dave. Freddie knows.
Barbecue Ruffles might be the best chip out there. It's
Freddie,
pretty
I'm
good.
telling you, man. Look, I usually stick. I'm a guy of like, I'm a creature of habit. I stick to the regular, barbecue or regular. I didn't want to try them. I'm like, okay, I'll humor you guys. I'll take one bite. But man, this KFC Ruffles is pretty damn good.
You guys are
These
both
good
wrong.
chips, man.
You guys are both wrong.
No, try this, man.
I haven't had those yet, but all dressed Ruffles.
Nah, barbecue's better.
Dude, I'm telling you.
I disagree
this stuff-
strongly with that. All dressed, tangier.
No, Dave. The Colonel is addictive, man. Whatever is in here, if AJ likes stuff that's outside of the norm, they've got to be good. I usually don't eat this crap, but it's really good. I just saw a comment. Angelo just said it. They've been around since this week. So you guys got to go get it. If the Colonel says they're good, they're finger licking good.
Is your headset on backwards or something, AJ? It doesn't make sense that your microphone is so far away from your face. It's like hard to hear you. Your volume is very low. You know, me and Freddie are at a certain
I gave a
level.
whole spiel there. You didn't hear anything?
The production team is letting me know. No, the production team is asking me right now if either your mic is too far from your face or your sound is coming from somewhere else. But your sound is coming from your microphone. We figured that out. It's always an issue with AJ. He knows how to get chips, but he doesn't know how to work his microphone on a weekly basis. It's always like a new problem, which is weird at this point. Yeah, I know, AJ. Yeah, it is that. But it's not near your face, so we can't really hear you. But that's okay. I guess we don't need to hear you. We can just kind of drown you out whenever we need to.
Yeah, that's true. It's actually a good thing. Keep it as is.
I don't know what to do about AJ. Good. There's only so much we can do with AJ.
That is, my friend. That is true. How do you like the shirt, man?
We'll try and fix it. Because we have to fix AJ. We have to make AJ look and sound better than he normally would. Yeah, we're doing some fixing. We're going to fix you. We're going to fix you up. We're going to preview the UFC. There's a UFC this weekend. There's boxing. I don't know much about boxing. There's jiu-jitsu. I got to say, I don't know much about what's going on there. I know about jiu-jitsu. I've done some jiu-jitsu a couple of times here and there. But, you know, Gordon Ryan is grappling Andre Galvao, and that's all I know, pretty much. Oof. That's the big one.
That's all you need to know, man.
Pretty big. Are you into that, AJ? You going to try and...
Yeah, man. I'm going to try to watch it for sure, man.
Yeah.
I mean, these are two, like, grapplers that everyone should follow, man, just to see their style, their techniques. Andre Galvao, man, has been a beast in jiu-jitsu. He's like a legend of the sport. You got Gordon Ryan, that's like one of the youngest champions. This guy is like, they're two technical fighters. It's like two chess masters that are going to go at it. And the one that's going to make the mistake is just because it was a nanosecond mistake and that's how this is gonna play out. It might be a boring match, but I seriously doubt it. These guys, man, are high energy, high power, super strong, incredibly technical.
Yeah.
Super strong. And the thing is that they're so technical in nanosecond speed that you get to see jiu-jitsu at its finest. And it's great to see this, man. And I hope, like, you know, I mean, it's hard for me. I don't want to give out who I want to see win on this, but I just want to see these two guys fight because they're two chess masters that are going to put on a show, man. That's going to be amazing. It's hard, man. It's hard to pick.
Yeah, it is. But is it? I don't know. I mean,
it is, dude. Come on, Dave.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
yeah. Sure,
you know.
It is. But, I mean, Gordon Ryan is just on such a streak right now. He seems unbeatable.
It's Andre Galvao, man. This is these are the two biggest superstars in jiu-jitsu. This is probably the biggest match ever in the history of like professional grappling.
Wow.
You know, I've seen a lot of grappling. I'm telling you, man, there's going to be a lot of eyes on this fight, and I hope everybody has a chance to see it.
Yep, that'll be this weekend, a big jiu-jitsu event, the ADCC. Shout out to Silent by Deadly, Angelo Contagonis. I'm seeing Harold Schneider and my boy Alice Shanks, who renewed their membership for the team. So thank you for remaining here with the Ringside Report Network. Join.ringsidereport.net if you have not already. That's join.ringsidereport.net. Freddie's going to give us a NASCAR up.
Why go to Rogan when you could stay with us? Forget it, man.
I mean, he has Mark Zuckerberg on his show. It's going to bring in eyeballs. I don't think he's coming on our show anytime soon. It'd be cool, but I really don't know. He's into jiu-jitsu, apparently, Mark Zuckerberg. He does jiu-jitsu all the time.
What? Get the hell out of here. Are you joking? The Facebook guy?
No, he's really into it, yeah.
I'll snap him like a matchstick.
I don't know. He's doing jiu-jitsu every day. When's the last time you were at the gym?
He was trained with a guy from with a guy that was on the last UFC card also.
Oh, yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Are you joking?
Yeah, some lower level guy
man.
there.
I take it back.
I mean, when you're Mark Zuckerberg, man, you could train pretty much with who you want because who's going to refuse? Like, yo, I want Mark Zuckerberg wants to hire me for jiu-jitsu, man. For sure, I'll be there.
Listen, man, you know what? You're absolutely right, Fred. When you have that much money, you could train with the best of the best, man. He could train with Renzo Gracie. He could train with Danaher. He could train with us, man. I could tell you this, is that I'm glad he's doing jiu-jitsu because a lot of guys come out and do jiu-jitsu. We've seen, like, man, so many, like, actors that come out and do jiu-jitsu. You know, and the thing is that they become really good at it, and it becomes a lifestyle, man. And they actually start looking like jiu-jitsu guys. So if Mark Zuckerberg, Mr. Facebook, starts looking like jiu-jitsu material, Dave, man, you can, like, meet him in a grappling event, man. I think you guys are the same weight.
I don't know about that. I don't know what he
Come on, Dave.
He's tall,
How tall is he?
But he's tall. He's tall. That's the thing.
Yeah.
How much do you weigh right now?
Me? I'm not saying that on YouTube. I'm not saying
Dave.
That.
I'm not telling you like your underwear color. I'm just telling you what's your weight.
Like 165, 170 in that range.
My underwear color is black. But I won't tell you my weight.
What about you, AJ?
Well, AJ is starting to get back into grappling form. I'm starting to go down, but I was up there. I mean, I'll be honest. COVID came and like not training and everything, and I hit 198. So that's like, you know, c'est pas bon ça.
Big AJ.
And big AJ, man, like chunky AJ, you know. And when you think about it, I'm 198, which means that I'm just a step away from like light heavyweight. It's not good, man. Actually, in jiu-jitsu, it would be considered heavyweight. It's not good. But I'm back down. I'm back into the 180s. And I'm happy because generally I would like grapple at 184. That would be my cutoff. And I always stuck to that, you know. So 184 is my competitive weight. And that's when I really feel my best. I'm still not there, but I'm in the 180s.
Well, good for you, AJ. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, but you know what?
AJ, you're a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. You're a badass man. And I look forward to you getting back on the mats and continuing your jiu-jitsu journey. Freddie and I were at the gym today doing jiu-jitsu together. It was a great time. And I hope that you can enjoy this as Freddie and I have been enjoying it so much. Jiu-jitsu is great. If you're not doing jiu-jitsu, you could be Mark Zuckerberg, who's in his, I would say, late 30s, early 40s, just starting out. You can be, man. Yeah, well, that's it. You can be anybody. You don't have to be super athletic, looking to compete at jiu-jitsu, looking to be a world champion. You could just go and do it. And, like me and Fred, we're not looking to be world champions. We're just looking to be guys having fun, doing jiu-jitsu, learning some skills, getting better. Yeah, just improving, Not necessarily kicking ass, just getting better at jiu-jitsu so you can kick ass if, the time comes.
If necessary, man. You don't do it for yourself. You do it for your family. But I'm going to tell you something, Dave. What I've noticed, like, lately, I've seen people coming into jiu-jitsu. I mean, remember this. It's a wrestling art. And I see people coming in at 60 years old. I see people at 70 years old, 80 years old. We have one that's in their 90s right now. I think it's in California, who has the black belt. He's a Gracie guy. And let me tell you, man, I tip my hat to these people. They're in their 70s and 80s, and they're wrestling. And they're grappling guys of 20, 30, 40, 50. I mean, it's not going to be hard rolls. But let me tell you, even a soft roll in jiu-jitsu is still hard. And you know what? I look at these people, and I'm like, man, I want to be like them, man. And it gives me a lot of inspiration, and it gives a lot of people inspiration. When you see, like here in Montreal, we have many 60-year-olds training right now and starting to train. And now we have a lot of guys that were in jiu-jitsu for decades and they're getting into their 60s and they look fantastic. I can name so many of them. I don't want to mention Mark's name, but I'm mentioning Mark's name.
Sure.
You might get upset,
Fred and
but
I
this
have
guy
a
is
coach.
like
Fred and I have a coach at our gym who is in his 50s and does not look like he's in his 50s and is a badass of badasses and, destroys people half his age with ease without breaking a sweat because he's, really good at jiu-jitsu,
Jiu-jitsu helps with, like, weight loss. I seen guys come in, no joke, man, hanging at 325, coming into a jiu-jitsu gym because everything else wasn't able to lose weight for a particular individual who still trains today, one of the baddest jiu-jitsu guys I know out there. He came in at 325, very young, and he's down to, like, 220 right now. But,
so
like,
you'll
never
the
have
Blue Jays catcher should do BJJ. Is that what you're saying?
But you talk about controversy.
I'm just trying to make your
topic.
story better, man, because nobody cares about your story.
No, but you know what, Freddie, listen to this, man. Jiu-jitsu cuts weight, and you know what? There's been some controversy here. People are like, "What the hell's Freddie talking about with Blue Jays?" But you know what? They've put a post on his Twitter account, because there's some Montreal journalists that come out and they start talking shit. This time it's about baseball. One time it was about MMA when you start looking at guys like Big Country or Cormier or whatnot. They'll never have the George St. Pierre body. But these guys can pick up any one of us and run up like a mountain with no problem. They're super fit. Big Country was a great example. You look at that guy, man, and he was the most unathletic body you could find. But his cardio, his strength, his training, his mental capability, this guy was top of the line. And getting back to the Montreal journalist who started to diss a Blue Jay, who was it that he dissed? Kevin? Who was it?
I'm not sure.
I'm not going to say the name.
Who's the catcher?
I don't know.
Who's the catcher for the Blue Jays? I don't know, man.
Kirk?
Yeah, Kirk. So he started dissing Kirk. So all it comes down to is he started dissing Kirk because of Kirk having a lot of weight and playing professional baseball. And obviously it's not like the right look for sports and whatnot. That's the wrong attitude because a lot of people came on and started to like attack this guy and started like giving him what he really deserved, like ignorance.
Well, a Blue Jay pitcher responded to this guy who said that, and he kind of
Manoa came in.
He basically made him delete his Twitter account.
Do you believe that?
It got so bad for him.
Listen, if you're going to put out a comment, listen, Dave, if you're going to put out a comment, I'm getting mad now. If you're going to put out a comment, you got to back it up. If you have reason to believe that, Kirk is overweight, the guy can slam the ball, man, outside of a baseball stadium. The guy is like hitting balls at 100 miles an hour. The guy is athletic. He's not in professional sports for no reason. Yeah, he might be overweight. But let me tell you, man, this guy is playing professional sports while you have some guys that never played a single game and they're talking shit. And you know what? Manoa came in and started like nailing this guy big time, well deserved. And it's a shame, man. And it's just like you said in your Twitter feed. It's like telling Cormier you're too fat to be in the UFC, or you're a big country, you're too fat to be there. We're going to see Tanner
that was
Bozer
actually, honestly, that wasn't in response to that. It was in response to that, but there was a guy who... There was a guy who works for a newspaper here who defended...
In Montreal?
Yeah, who defended the other guy, saying, "Oh, you know, these guys, they're overweight, and the only sports that they could compete at other than baseball is bowling or darts." And I was like, well, I mean, that's just not true. You know, you look at guys like Fyodor Emelianenko or Daniel Cormier, who didn't have the prototypical six-pack, super jacked athlete. Who?
Chris Barnett.
Chris Barnett, yes, this weekend, who was a goddamn superstar, you know? I mean, Chris Barnett, I don't know if he'll be world champion, but Daniel Cormier is an Olympian, is a world champion in 2 different weight classes in the UFC. And to say that a guy with a husky build could only play baseball, darts, or bowling, I think is a little bit ignorant as to the true landscape of professional sports. And, you know, if you're going to be a person who's going to cover all sports, you should maybe be a little bit more aware of what in the hell you're talking about. You know, I see a guy, you know, in pro wrestling like Kevin Owens, who's, you know, people talk about how he's kind of husky and he's overweight and he should whatever, but he's an extremely athletic guy who can do backflips and do all sorts of stuff, while the people that criticize him are sitting on the couch and they can't do a goddamn thing. You know, it is annoying when I see people that aren't really athletic criticizing professional athletes for their physique. It's like ridiculous, you know, and yeah, the guy got taken to task pretty good, and it was pretty funny.
Well deserved.
It was pretty funny.
It's funny, but it's pretty like sad that like someone who covers sports would go to that extent. And why? Why did you do that? Like, did you not think that a
this is what they
shock
do.
value?
This is what they do.
Shock value.
No, it's not even.
Does.
It's not even
It's
shock value. They get into this mode. I worked in sports media for a really long time. Okay, most of these guys don't ever do any kind of sport. So they get into this mode where all they do is sit and watch. And when all you do is sit and watch, it becomes like a TV show for you. So when somebody's no good, you just criticize him like he's a TV character. And they forget and they lose the sense that these are real people trying really hard to be good at a sport. It's not just the money. It's not just the fame. It's winning and putting up numbers and being a hell of an athlete. And a lot of these people that are in media forget that. And also, I think what's good for us is that we are reminded every time we go to the gym how far we are from a UFC fighter, how far we are from even like a low-level UFC fighter who goes 0-3 on a contract, how hard it is to get to that point, let alone to challenge for a title or even be champion. Like, that's 1 in a million. That's like a different type of level. And I think it's good to remind yourself how special some of these professional athletes really are and how unspecial you are as an athlete, and how you really don't have a place to be like, well, I think he should have did this, or I think he should look like this, or I think, you know, when I watch fights, I go, oh my God, look at that. That was unbelievable. I'll tell you who I think is going to win. I'll tell you who I think is a better fighter of 2 fighters, and sometimes I'm wrong, but I'm never going to say, well, that fighter sucks. He shouldn't, you know, look like that or whatever. People get disrespectful, you know? People get so far away from actually doing a sport or never have done any sports, yet they watch a lot of them and talk about them, that they get a little bit confused about what real life is and what's a TV show, you know? It's just confused.
Look, I want to tell you something, Dave. We've got guys in the jiu-jitsu world and guys who've done MMA with no arms and no legs. You look at guys like Joey Balzic, or you look at Kyle Menard, that actually follows us on Instagram. And you know what? These guys have no arms or legs, and they're grappling at a competitive level. And one of them, I think it was Kyle that actually did an MMA fight against a guy who had both arms and legs. And the thing is that if you look at them, you know, you would not believe that these guys are capable of doing things that I can't even do, that you can't even do. And I tip my hat to these guys. They're incredible, incredible ambassadors for the world of martial arts and sports. That's why it's frustrating when I see like these journalists coming out and giving rants to a guy who's heavyweight. What would he do with a guy who has no arms and legs? Would he tell him that you're not allowed to get into a jiu-jitsu mat? Or you're not allowed to get on a wrestling mat? You're not allowed to get into a boxing match? Come on, man. I work with kids, man, and I'm going to tell you something. I've dealt with kids from all backgrounds, mobility issues, mental health issues, and let me tell you, man, they come out and they have fun. No one's judged. Everybody's included. And you know what? It gets me mad, and I'm glad. I thought that comment that you made with Cormier was based really on that comment from that individual.
Well, it was both.
It was
both, but it was
both.
just like,
but
it was two people. It was two people. It was him. He said it, and then another journalist, supposed journalist, defended him, and I was like, "Come on, man."
Professional sport is a meritocracy. Like you're not gonna stay on the Blue Jays if you don't deserve your spot. You know, you got to be good,
exactly.
Man, and you got to earn it. And there's been other fat baseball players before, so his take was very ridiculous. Like growing up, one of my favorite players was Cecil Fielder. Man, Cecil Fielder was not he was not an athlete, but man, he hit 50 home runs one year. Man, I was like, wow. So, anyways, man. Let's get to MMA.
Hey, man, Babe Ruth was no...
You started this, Fred. Fred, like, just is changing subjects. He's keeping the show moving tonight. I like it.
I was trying to stop AJ from telling us about fat people joining jiu-jitsu gyms, which I'm one of them, you know. I'm one of the fat guys joining a jiu-jitsu gym.
Was, man.
But I was just trying to stop AJ because he was in one of his rants about, like, jiu-jitsu is holy, jiu-jitsu will make you walk on water, jiu-jitsu.
Listen, I'm not saying jiu-jitsu is wrestling.
And there you go.
I don't care what it is.
A comment from our team that said both of those baseball players, the pitcher and the catcher there, they both made the All-Star team this year. Which is like, man. You know...
Bravo, man. And
I don't know. You're going to say that they don't look the right part, or I think they're just trying to say like, well, it's a stereotype that baseball players are fat. Like, I don't even think that's a stereotype, really. And I think that some baseball players, I think it's kind of a novelty of baseball that once in a while you see a guy who's a little chubby, and it's like, oh, that's cool, you know. But it happens in fighting, it happens in wrestling. Like you see a guy like Gable Steveson, right? He's not like.
Oh my God.
Jacked person. I mean, he's big and muscular, but he's also kind of chubby a little bit, and he's an Olympic champion wrestler. He won the gold medal. Like you can have fat on your body and not be skinny and still be a world-class athlete, and that's just, you know, fine. I think it's totally good. You know, why not? You know, look at Shaquille O'Neal when he was playing in the NBA. Like he got a bit kind of thick, you know. He was a giant. Later, he was kind of a monster.
When he started, he was just a freak athlete.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was crazy. I think it's funny that guy got destroyed by the pitcher because that guy is,
Man, but it just goes to show you how like the teammates
the pitcher that went at him on Twitter. I had not the pitcher, but the guy there that got destroyed by the pitcher. I had blocked him on Twitter like years ago, so I didn't even.
Oh really? That same guy that made the comment?
Yeah. For a different issue. He was just not responsible enough to read my tweets and interact with me online. He was just a strange man.
I think isn't that the guy that dissed me as well at one point?
Possibly. He's a strange man.
Yeah, I think he dissed me.
Yeah.
Listen,
I don't want to name him, and I don't want to like go into it because there's really no reason because it's not that important. But Fred brought it up, and it was very funny. Because I did tweet about it this morning because Fred sent me the stuff. Fred sent me like a thing that he saw on Facebook. He's like, "Don't you know this guy?" I was like, "Oh yeah."
Listen, man.
And he's like, "Oh, he deleted his Twitter." I was like, "What?"
Why would you delete it, man? Don't be a coward, man. Face the music and explain your side of the story. By deleting it, you're running away, man.
The Blue Jays fans went at him. They destroyed him.
Man, don't listen. It could be any team. It could have been with the Yankees. It could have been with like the winning possible World Series team, the Houston Astros this year.
Boo! What are you talking about? Yankees are winning. They won. They swept Boston in Boston. Okay, they just swept them.
Okay, but all to say is this, Dave. I thought you were going to say suck at Astros, but anyways.
Well, them too.
All to say is, look, man, I love the fact that teammates are defending teammates, and it was uncalled for a sports journalist to say what he did. And if people want to know who it is, it's simple. Just go on Ringside Report, Twitter page, and you can see, or go to Dave Simon MMA on Twitter, and you'll see exactly like what went on, Or just go to the Blue Jays because
what's really funny to me is that other people that know this guy and like work with him still are like liking the comment that I made and retweeting it. I'm like, to know him is to dislike him. You know what I mean? It's funny. Okay.
Why, man? Listen.
It's just funny. It's just I was like, whoa, I didn't expect these guys to be all happy about it. I was like, oh, nice, good for you. Cool. All the best. I wish him all the best. Right? Fred's going to talk about NASCAR later. I'm very excited. Fred explained to me something about NASCAR that I didn't know prior today. I was very interested. Fred was talking to me about NASCAR, and we were just really fascinating stuff about stages. I don't know about the stages at all. That's blown me away. And the points carrying over to the playoffs. I'm becoming a NASCAR expert, AJ. I'm learning the rules. Do you know the rule? Do you know how stages work in NASCAR, AJ?
I know the girls.
You don't.
I know the girls that walk and the checker flag girls. I know that, but
okay. So you don't.
Stages.
But Fred was explaining to me like the rules to a NASCAR race. There's like different rules and points and how it all works. Like it's very complicated. I didn't realize it was so complicated. I thought they just raced around in a circle and then whoever crosses the finish line after like 3 million laps wins.
Or who crashes
after
first?
1 million lap, you give some points. After 2 million laps, you give some more points. And after 3 million laps, well, the race is over.
And apparently it's not even millions. It's only hundreds. But still, it seems like a lot. You're going around a circle 300 times.
Well, this weekend they're at Bristol. Bristol is a 500-lap racetrack, but it's under 15 seconds a lap. So you're doing like 4 laps a minute. So I don't know. Crazy, it's like 125 minutes, of nonstop driving. Insane, 40 cars. That means there's
but it depends.
Cars every
but Freddie,
does that?
But it depends
on
the crashes.
Stages, then? Is it 5 stages?
Three stages.
3 stages. Well, so if it's 500 laps,
sometimes the stages aren't equals in lap. The last stage will be longer since it's the most deciding. So I don't know exactly the length of the stages this weekend, but
you get points. See, AJ, you get points for being first in each stage. So after, like, say it's a 300-lap race, after 100 laps, you get points if you're first place. After 200 laps, you get points if you're in first place. And after 300 laps, when the race is over, you get the most points if you're first there, because then you win the race. See? Stages. Fred explained this to me. I had no idea.
Listen, man, you want to learn racing, man? Just look at Ricky Bobby, man. Talladega Nights. It tells you it all there.
I've seen that movie several times. I didn't learn anything about racing. I learned about Baby Jesus and Taco Bell. Shake and
bake, man.
I learned about that. Shake and bake. Drifting or
Baby
something.
Jesus.
Drafting.
Please, Baby
Drifting
Jesus.
is something else, right? Tokyo Drift. That's something else. Yeah. I don't know what that is. It's a video game, isn't it? And then
don't forget Jean Girard.
Fast
the
and
Formula
Furious.
1 guy.
Jean Girard.
You remember?
Yeah.
Love Jean Girard.
That was Borat.
LEG, man.
Yeah.
I will beat you, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. I like he had Perrier as his sponsor. That was good. It was a nice touch. Classic. All right. What the hell are we talking about, guys? We've talked about KFC chips.
We did that. Can I say something?
Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, since we talked about NASCAR, we talked about the Blue Jays, we talked about
I don't think we're done with NASCAR either. Fred, I want you to talk about that other thing you were saying. You can give me your rant later.
Can I say something? Something?
All right.
Come on, Coach. Let me in. It's important. This is important. I swear. I just want to
Can I tell you something first?
No.
I don't like Guns N' Roses. I think they suck.
What? How dare you, man?
Blasphemous.
See, guys of a certain age love Guns N' Roses for some reason, but I'm like,
what's your favorite Guns N' Roses song, AJ?
Welcome to the Jungle, man. Classic.
Patience.
That's it, man. Patience is good, but I need something hard, man. Nothing like boxing to Guns N' Roses. Listen, man, first, now that you got me on the feed, I got to, give out our condolences from the Ringside Report team to our good friend, ex-UFC fighter, MMA fighter, medical cannabis advocate, a super nice guy. Man, we had him on our show at TSN 690 in 2019. The first show of the new year, we had Elias Theodorou on. It was a crazy night. We had Muscles Marco there. I remember that show like it was yesterday. I had to re-listen to it. So if anybody wants to listen to an old show of ours when we were on radio only, it's completely insane. It was so much fun. We had a great night, man. And the thing is that the after party, which didn't happen because I kind of gave Elias Theodorou the wrong directions to get to the hot dog joint that I was going to in Verdun with Muscles Marco, and it got crazy. And I sent the guy somewhere else. And I'm like, Elias, man, I apologize. I don't know where the hell I sent him. He went to the East End and he went to some apartment. It got crazy. All to say is our buddy Elias Theodorou, who passed away at 34 years old, super nice guy, funny guy. And from our team to the Theodorou family, our condolences.
Yeah. Shocking. I couldn't.
Way too young.
Yeah. Nobody knew that he had cancer. It didn't seem like it was public information at all. I guess his close family and friends knew, but the whole MMA world, we're all familiar with Elias. He was on The Ultimate Fighter. He was big in Canada. He was in the UFC for a while. And,
Team USA versus Team Australia.
Just a young guy, in shape, healthy guy that we just saw like 2-3 years ago in studio, just talking to him, chatting it up, hanging out with him, and it's
and he still supported our show, right? On Instagram, or
good friend of the show.
The guy was always putting likes on our show or sending a message just like positive things, up to last week, which is crazy. Last week, I looked at him like, oh, Elias saw our feed, and he put a like on it. I think it was one of your wrestling things. In fact, it was your live feed that you did to wrestling, and he put out a like as well. And that's the thing with Elias, man. He was still supporting our show. And it's just a shame, but it just goes to show you, man, that sometimes life, throws you lemons, man. But the guy, now I know why he was such an advocate for medical cannabis, because obviously he had this lifelong issue, and it was
I don't know
really
if that was
important
it.
for him.
I don't know if that tied into it. I think that was a separate
I don't know.
thing.
We
for
don't
him.
know.
I'm not
but
sure though. I don't know. I think you're
we don't
reading
know,
into
but
it though, and you might not be correct.
No, but I remember that he had mentioned that he had digestive issues and things like that. So I'm just saying, it's just a shame. But regardless, a good friend of the show, and always supported the Ringside Report team, and I'm glad that we had him on the show live. We did some crazy stuff. We even shot him. He drank Uncle Benny's wine that night. It was like a crazy time, man. And if you have the opportunity, just go back and listen to Ringside Report with Elias Theodorou, 2019. Super funny show, man. And, rest in peace, buddy.
Yeah, our condolences to the family and friends of Elias Theodorou. Shocking news. When I saw that, I was like, what? That's got to be a mistake. I didn't even understand. It's crazy. 34 years old, and way too young.
I just saw a comment coming in from Angelo, and Elias was called the Spartan, really good Greek kid, man. And I forgot that he was also on The Amazing Race. I remember seeing him on The Amazing Race. So, you had Joe Rogan on some reality show, and you had Elias Theodorou on The Amazing Race. So, man, crazy times. This guy did so much. He was actually one of the first ring boys for MMA, if you remember that. And the guy is he was the poster boy for Harlequin Romance, where he was like my mom. When I told my mom, this is the guy that's on your books, and Elias on the show goes, yeah, I was on 20 covers. I mean, this guy did it all, and he said it. He had to do this kind of stuff to supplement his fighting career. He was a hardworking guy all the way up to the end, so
I love that story he told on our show where he was like, I don't remember the details exactly.
Oh, the car thing where he became a
where
YouTube
he falls off a car, and he's unconscious, and he wakes up, and he's in bed naked with a beautiful lady. Like he somehow, like he just like crashes everything, and then in the end he's nude with a lady, and he's like, he wakes up, he comes to, he's like, oh well, I guess somebody took me home, and she was very nice to me. You know, like I don't know.
It was crazy. And
That's
if you want to hear the full story on that, you can hear it on that episode. It was insane, man. The stuff that he was talking about, which was that one there where he was like surfing a car because something happened and he flew off and ended up having a pretty pretty interesting night. Not that he remembers it, but he ended up becoming like a YouTube like sensation at that time. Crazy, man.
Yep. Good man, Elias Theodorou.
Opa.
Yeah. I don't know where to go from there. I'm kind of just bummed out.
Well, you know what? It's important that we talk about it, Nate
Diaz, motherfucker. What?
279, man. High. Wow.
Yeah.
Listen,
Nate Diaz is the
AJ
man.
was close. I was close to hitting my parlay, Dave.
But who hit their parlays, AJ?
Me and Dave.
Yeah, me and Dave. Freddie and Dave. Not AJ, Freddie
but I
and
took
Dave.
The underdogs.
Both hit their parlays. We both
did. The underdogs.
You went with underdogs?
And mine almost paid.
I went with the underdog in the main event. My friend Nathan Diaz, who was the underdog somehow over Tony Ferguson, wrapped that guillotine up. When Tony got tired of taking punches to the face, he decided to go for a takedown. Bad idea on Nate Diaz. Wrapped him and tapped him. Let's go.
Man, it was a crazy week last week. I mean, everything from the build-up from the press conference that went just completely nuts, people running out, Dana White closing a press conference that never happened in history, to getting a card that was pretty decent, to getting a card that was unbelievable. And that fight night, 279, is probably one of the greatest cards I've seen in the longest time. From the prelims, making its way all the way to the Diaz fight was insane. And you know what? I mean, even after the fight, I mean, there was controversy right after the fight where you had Johnny Walker, which doesn't make sense. I still don't know what the hell the whole story was, where Johnny Walker is leaving the UFC
it was an error.
Arena. No, it wasn't, man. He didn't have tickets, so he had to leave. He left with his UFC shorts, no shoes, his gloves still on, walking the streets of Vegas. Full footage. Like, he was with Donna.
I saw a funny video where Johnny Walker, they did the same thing where he gets kicked out now from the house of his coach, and he's still in his fighting shorts. So they had fun with it, man. It was an error, man. Dana White said he shouldn't have been kicked out, and I believe him. And somebody fucked up, and somebody should get yelled at for that, because you can't just kick out a guy that just fought and not even let him take a shower or anything. But anyways, I want to go back to Nate Diaz, man. Nate Diaz, man, could have been better for him, man. He's leaving on a high. Dana White, like, he doesn't say it that much, but I'm pretty sure he must be pissed that Nate Diaz is leaving. Like he wanted to feed Nate Diaz to Khamzat Chimaev, and that didn't happen. Nate Diaz beating Tony Ferguson, who, honestly, Tony, man, you looked old, man. That wasn't the Tony Ferguson that we grew to admire and to think he was a contender. So props to Nate Diaz. I don't know what's next for him. He said a bunch of stuff, BJJ, boxing, who knows, another MMA promotion. Who knows? Maybe he'll be back to the UFC. Paul. But I hope he makes a lot of money, and I hope he comes back to the UFC at some point. But, yeah, go make some money, Nate. And another thing, Khamzat, man, fucking great performance. Just too bad that you kind of come out of that weekend looking like a prick. Khamzat comes out a little bit looking like a heel, but you know what, man, that could be good, man. That now people want Khamzat to lose. So
yeah,
his fight looked incredible. He dominant like nobody. Like you can't be much more dominant than that. He didn't get hit a single time. So Khamzat comes out of there as a winner, but also not a loser, but he lost a little bit like of shine where people loved him before this event, and now some people hate him. So it's still good, man. People are going to want him fight.
Now, you said
Freddie,
a lot there, and
saw...
I want to hold on, AJ, because I want to talk about Nate Diaz and I want to talk about Khamzat because there's a lot to dissect there. First of all, with Khamzat, I agree with you, Fred. He missed weight. He seemed unhappy about, or he seemed like he didn't really care about it, kind of happy, flipping people off, and that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And because he missed weight, the whole card had to get reshuffled. You know, it was an unfortunate moment for Khamzat Chimaev, but he wound up victorious, and Dana White still seemed very high on him at the press conference. And he didn't seem to want to push him to fight at 185 necessarily, saying he could fight at 185 or he could fight at 170. But I think Dana seemed to be leaning towards having him fight at 185, and I think there's a perfect 185 matchup for him right now in Paulo Costa because those two guys don't like each other. Costa is pretty high up in the middleweight rankings, and if Khamzat Chimaev can just manhandle Kevin Holland, let's see how he handles Paulo Costa. I think that would be a really fun fight, given Paulo Costa's recent fight with Luke Rockhold that was so entertaining. We know that Paulo Costa goes in there to scrap. I think Costa and Khamzat Chimaev would be a great fight to make right now because if Khamzat is able to make 185 and he's struggling so much to make 170, why? Just go at 185 and see how far you can ride that. If you think you could be champion at 185, go for it now. I wouldn't necessarily pursue 170 right now. The 170 division is kind of locked up as far as the championship goes. We got Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards going to fight each other at some point, but that fight hasn't been announced. We know when Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira are going to fight, and the winner of that fight, you know, Khamzat could find his way in the mix if he finds his way to a Paulo Costa fight around that time. He could be in line for a middleweight title shot. So I'd go middleweight with Khamzat Chimaev right now. As for Nate Diaz, amazing performance. Dana did seem mad at the press conference. He didn't seem too thrilled with what Nate had done because this was supposed to be Nate being slaughtered by the new kid, Khamzat Chimaev, to make Khamzat Chimaev a bigger name. And instead, we got Nate on his last fight in the UFC, last fight on his contract, looking like a superhero, beating a guy who you still have under contract. Dana White wanted Tony Ferguson to win that fight. I mean, if you're a promoter, and you can't blame him. If you're a promoter, you have one guy under contract and another guy not under contract, and you know he's leaving and you know he's a headache to deal with, who do you think you want to win? You want the guy that you still have under contract that you could promote as the guy that just beat Nate Diaz. If Tony Ferguson beats Nate Diaz on Saturday night, his next fight is a big deal. Now, because he lost to Nate Diaz, his next fight is not as big of a deal. You know, it's like Tony Ferguson could have main evented a UFC show had he just defeated Nate Diaz. But now his stock is way down, and the UFC still has him under contract. Nate Diaz, his stock is way up. He just main evented a UFC pay-per-view and won. Looked great. And now the world is his oyster. He is super entertaining. He's got legions of fans. He's still
more so
sharp, and he just came out looking like a winner. He just beat Tony Ferguson in his last fight in the UFC, and he can go do whatever he wants. The bare-knuckle boxing wants him to fight Mike Perry, which I think is a bad idea. They're going to have to put out some real money for that. I'd be surprised to see Nate Diaz sign with bare-knuckle fighting, but I was surprised when Paige Van Zandt signed with bare-knuckle boxing, so who knows? I mean, they threw a bunch of money at her. Maybe they'll throw even more at Nate. Who knows what kind of money they have? That whole company is suspicious. You know? Who
Listen,
knows?
man, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money in bare knuckles. We're talking in the millions for fights. So the thing is that it's worth it to go out into that promotion and fight. But going back to like the Tony Ferguson thing, I mean, I thought Tony was going to come out and be able to handle like the Diaz nightmare. But obviously, you know, my heart was with Diaz, but I really thought Tony could pull it off. Regardless, it was a complete slaughter, man. Diaz came out and looked good. And I hope I don't want to see the guy retire, but what a way to leave the sport, man. He's got so many more new followers that love this guy. The Diaz army has never been stronger. But, man, he's hitting close to 40, man. You know, look, it's almost a blessing that he didn't fight Khamzat, because if he would have fought Khamzat, it would have been a nightmare for him. We saw what he did. He came in and he dominated that fight against Kevin Holland, who is a guy that he should have been fighting with in the first place. That's what it comes down to. When I saw Khamzat, whatever you want to call him, do what he did in the ring, holy shit, man, it was crazy. Yeah, he didn't give the high five and he went straight for the takedown. But he was saying is, listen, man, I'm in the fight. It's going. I'm not looking at his hands. I'm looking at his body. And that's where I went. So, I mean, you got to look at it for what it is. You know, maybe it was a cheap move to most people, but let's not forget, once it's like, let's get it on, that's what it is. And you know what? Kevin Holland had many times to get out of a position through that scramble, but Khamzat showed the dominance, man, the powerful dominance that is going to be the reason why this guy's going to be champion in the future. I'm telling you. But going back to Tony Ferguson, look, Tony Ferguson had an ugly night. He's had many, many ugly nights. He's had 5 ugly nights. But because he's still on contract, and you know what? All 6 fighters saved UFC 279. They could have walked away from any of those fights, but they didn't. They all deserve like a big thumbs up. I hope they got like some extra bonus out of it. We don't know. But I can tell you that Tony Ferguson still has a fight in him. If he loses his 6th straight, it's the end of Tony Ferguson. And what a shame, man. Because when this guy was at his peak, we were looking at him going up against Khabib
if he
and
loses
possibly
his
being the guy
straight,
that beats Khabib.
Who in the UFC is he going to beat right now?
He's going to have to beat a jabroni, man.
He would have lost to Li Jingliang too, my friends. He would have lost to Li Jingliang, okay?
It's possible,
like, he's losing to Nate Diaz, and it's not like he got caught. He got beat down and finished. Like, he got beat for several rounds. Nate Diaz dominated him. And, you know, I love Nate Diaz. I love Tony Ferguson. But they're in their late 30s. They're not in the prime of their careers anymore. When you're getting beat down like that by Nate Diaz, you know, it's hard to stay competitive in a top 10 of either division in the UFC. That's just how it is. That's just the game has evolved. You know, there's a lot of guys that are very tough. It's a tough sport to stay, like, your favorite fighter, like I'm saying it all the time, your favorite fighter stays on top for, like, legends live for maybe 4 years. You know, and then that's it. 4 or 5 years. True. If you can stay on top for 5 years, you're like, people say you're the greatest of all time. Like, it's really hard to remain a top level fighter in the top 10 of the division for more than a couple of years.
Or guys that step out and come back in, like George St. Pierre. There's not too many guys like that, you know, and you're absolutely right, Dave, man.
He's a freak, but that's what I'm saying. People don't realize how great GSP is. The guy was a freak of nature. He's a 1 in a billion, you know? He's crazy. He was destined to be this man that he is.
But like, you know, back to what I was saying, man.
No.
At one point, man, I remember not long ago, we were looking at Tony Ferguson versus Khabib, and we're all pumped up, man. And we were so sure that Tony could have taken out Khabib.
Well, at the time, man, Tony was so sharp. Like, that's what I'm saying. Tony Ferguson at one time was so good and was on such a win streak and was so unstoppable that fight made a lot of sense, and it was close. It would have been an interesting fight. Maybe Khabib would have won. Maybe Tony would have won, but you know, you can't deny that at one point that fight was serious.
Tony is old news, unfortunately, man. His time has passed. I know it's a little bit harsh to say sometimes, but there's no way I believe Tony Ferguson will be a contender again. He didn't look at all like a contender. And one last thing on Khamzat, I think 185 might be good for him because of his wrestling, man. He could give problems to a lot of guys with his wrestling. I'd rather see him maybe try 170 again, but I think he doesn't want to cut the weight. Like the feeling I got pretty much was Khamzat doesn't like to cut the weight. So we'll see, man. Should be a good fight either way, where 170 or 185.
I'll tell you this about Khamzat. He was asked about fighting Robert Whittaker, and he was not interested in that fight whatsoever.
Might be a tough matchup for him.
It's a bad matchup for him. Whittaker can wrestle. He's big. He's a real 185er. Khamzat was like, oh, I like him. I like his style. I want to train with him one day. He doesn't know him. He's never, I don't know if he's ever met him, you know? But Khamzat is this guy. Like, we're starting to see more of Khamzat. At first, he's smashing kind of low-level guys, and he's like, I smash him, and it's super cool. And we're like, oh, cool. But now you see more, and I'm like, wait a second. Because it's like, what about Robert Whittaker? And he's like, oh, no, I like him. I respect him too much. I don't want to fight him. It's like everybody else is a piece of garbage, but this guy who's a really bad matchup for you at 185, you have tons of respect for. It was just a little suspicious. I was like, wait a second, Khamzat. You're talking all this shit about everybody. And then here comes a really tough matchup. Like, he wants to fight Adesanya. He wants to fight Pereira. He wants to fight the kickboxers. He doesn't want to fight a big wrestler because a big wrestler might give him problems. You know? I don't know. When Whittaker's name was brought up, I don't want to disrespect Khamzat. I'm not saying he's scared, but I'm saying it was interesting to me. This guy who's coming on the scene, crushing everybody, talking mad shit. He's asked about Whittaker, and he's like, no, I want to train with him. I don't want to fight him. It's like, well, do you train with him? No. Have you ever trained with him? No. Do you know him? No. Do you live in Australia? No. Well, what? You know, like, it was just odd. It was an odd thing to say for Khamzat. It was uncharacteristic of the Khamzat gimmick, and it made me wonder, like, oh, is he just ducking it because he knows it's a bad matchup? Which, fair enough. He's probably a 170 guy. He should be fighting at 170, not 185, and a big wrestler at 185. Like, yeah, why would you want to fight that? But he wasn't saying that. He wasn't saying, oh, he's a tough matchup. I don't know. He was saying, like, no, I like him. I'm a fan. I don't want to do that. Whatever. It's just now that Khamzat is a heel, now we're going to point out the little things, you know, that he's doing because Khamzat is a bad guy. So if I see Khamzat saying some shit, I'm like, whoa, Khamzat. Take it easy there, buddy.
He's become a big-time heel, man. And look, he wants to be the heel. Look at all the videos that were out on him, like, over the last week. It was crazy. He was, like, after everybody. Paulo Costa and him going back and forth at the Performance Center. I mean, it was insane. But when you're talking about, like when Whittaker and his grappling and his wrestling and whatnot, let's not forget when he fought Gilbert Burns, Khamzat, man, he was able to control Gilbert Burns, and Gilbert Burns is a beast, man. We're talking ADCC champion of 2000, third place, I think he got in 2015. Like, numerous accolades in jiu-jitsu and wrestling, like, right across the board. Man, I think Khamzat is at a different level. I don't think he's intimidated by Whittaker, you know, even though it seems like he was talking, like, really nice stuff about him. He wants to fight these other guys because these other guys, man.
I have the quote from Khamzat. I'll let you hear it.
Usman and Leon Edwards booked for their trilogy until next year. What fight makes most sense for you next? A Colby Covington, maybe a Robert Whittaker up at middleweight? Like, what makes sense to you?
Who's it, Robert?
Robert Whittaker?
Hey, he's been
I like that guy, so I don't want to fight the good guys, you know. I need some bad guy, so I want to fight some bad guy, you know, and don't feel sorry for that. So I want to train with that guy. He's really good, like, you know, one of the best guys in the world. See, I was watching his fight. I've wanted it for this sport, you know. I'm a big fan, so I watch all the things. I watch how he trains, all these things. And, yeah, a lot of guys want to fight me, so Robert never said something bad about me. It's a lot of guys talking shit about me. I can go take their heads off, you know. So we'll see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There he is. So he's saying, you know, I like him. I like that guy. I want to fight bad guys that I don't like. Okay.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
But I want to see you fight Robert Whittaker. I think that's a fun matchup, dude. I want to see that shit.
It might happen. It might happen at some point, but I think he wants the more exciting fights that'll sort of motivate him. He likes, like, to be angry. He likes his team behind him starting, like, you know, shit, as we saw, like, in the last week with Paulo Costa. Look, you know, it's going to happen at some point. But he looks at Whittaker as a good guy.
If he wants to be UFC welterweight champion or UFC and UFC middleweight champion, like, if he wants to be the UFC middleweight champion, he's going to have to fight Robert Whittaker at some point. Because that's how good Robert Whittaker is. Like, it's Adesanya and then Whittaker. 185, I'm saying.
Yeah, at 170, I want him to fight Colby Covington. I want him to be tested by somebody that could wrestle with him.
Yeah. Colby would be a great matchup, but apparently there's been talk that Colby's got injuries, but Dana was saying he is going to come back, and they have had talks with Colby. There's just no fight announced yet for Colby. Okay, guys, this weekend we've got some fights. UFC is in Vegas again at the Apex. Corey Sandhagen taking on Song Yadong. Corey Sandhagen stands 5'11". How big is Yadong?
He's 5'8".
No, that's not what I was asking, AJ. I was asking,
how
long big
dong.
is Yadong?
That's 12 inches, man.
You asked me how much I weighed before, so now I'm asking you, how big is Yadong? All right,
it's
12 inches. That's
Yadong.
Ridiculous.
It was
I don't even believe
that
that.
had 12 inches, man. It was,
I don't believe.
Man.
But is that what you're saying about yourself?
Listen, dude, don't get
You got a smaller shoe size than me.
Man.
I mean, I'd be surprised. I don't know. All right.
Crickets.
Yeah, AJ's not.
Listen,
talking.
man, this is gonna be an interesting fight, man. It's gonna be tough. Hey, now, man. You know, Ron Jeremy.
Okay.
Who's probably going to prison soon.
So Yadong and Sandhagen. Let's fucking what? What the fuck are you talking about? Yadong and Sandhagen. I like Sandhagen. I like his style. I like his flying knee ability. He is a high-level 135er. He's just coming off a fight with Petr Yan that he lost. Petr Yan is a beast, though. Sandhagen is upper echelon in this division. In the past, 5 years, he's only lost to Dillashaw, Yan, and Sterling. He's beaten everybody else. I think he gets the win over Yadong. 24 years old, Yadong, 19-6-1 as a pro. Coming off a couple knockout victories. He seems to be putting things together. Nice knockout of Marlon Moraes in his last fight. Sandhagen is coming off a couple losses too, right? He's lost to Yan and Dillashaw 2 straight, but both by decision. Close. I don't know. I think it's going to be tough to put away Sandhagen. He's never been knocked out. He's very durable. He's a little bit taller. He's going to have some longer reach here going into this fight. Corey Sandhagen coming in right now as a -200 favorite. Song Yadong plus 162. It's a bantamweight main event this Saturday at the Apex. You know where I'm going. I'm going with the Sandman, the Sandhagen. Freddie, you going with Corey Sandhagen?
Yes, I am.
There we go. AJ, you going to make it a trifecta here, or are you going with Yadong again? AJ loves Yadong.
I like the Yadong, the Schlong. I'm going to tell you why. Because this guy, man, he's on a 3-fight winning streak. The guy beat Moraes, man, and he was out of that fight, he got the post-fight bonus. I mean, this guy can fight. 24 years old, he has everything. And not to take away from Sandhagen, I think Sandhagen was one of the guys that impressed me the most coming into this. The only thing that Yadong doesn't have is that distance. He doesn't have a 25-minute fight in his career yet, but that means absolutely nothing. I'm going the other way. I think Song is going to be able to manhandle Corey. I think it's going to be. I think he has what it takes to be a big winner out of this fight. And listen, man, he's on a 3-fight winning streak for a reason, and he beat Moraes, who's no joke. Mind you, so did Sandhagen. He lost to Yan and he lost to TJ Dillashaw by a split decision. It was super close. But, man, I'm going the other way, guys.
Okay. That's all right, AJ. You went the other way last week in the main event, and we all know how that turned out for you. So, Team Fred, Team Dave probably will pull this one out. Also, the favorite, Sandhagen, too. I mean, it's kind of – that's going there. We'll see what we do with the parlays here. Let's do some parlays. What are we waiting?
Hasn't fought in a year, man.
Okay. Gregory Rodriguez and Chidi Njokuani is the co-main event.
That's going to be crazy.
Yeah. I I got Enjo Kawani in that one. Enjo Kawani is the favorite, I believe. Yeah, minus 123. Rodriguez plus 100, the underdog. I like Enjo Kawani in that one. He's very explosive. Big knockout
Chidi
power.
is the guy. He's the
Dangerous
guy that knocked out Marc-André Barriault with that devastating knockout. Like it was like insane. The guy's from the Contender Series. We see this guy has like some serious power behind him, and to knock out Marc-André Barriault. I remember that fight. I was like, holy shit! It happened so fast, and it's not easy to knock out Marc-André Barriault, but it happened that night. So, not taking away from Rodriguez, but it's going to be a pretty long night for him.
Rodriguez is a beast, though. Rodriguez has got power, too. He's a monster, but I like Enjo Kawani in that one. And you mentioned Marc-André Barriault, power bar. He's going to be fighting on this card, taking on Anthony Hernandez. Hernandez minus 200, the favorite. Barriault plus 162, the underdog. Keith Hernandez.
Yeah, Keith Hernandez, man. Man, it's gonna be. I don't want to say anything on this fight, but.
Oh. Okay.
Barrios gonna lose. I'm gonna say it. I'm sorry. Anthony Hernandez is a solid fighter, man. He's gonna.
Yeah, he's durable. He's strong. Look, Marc-André Barriault, man. If he connects, man, he's got power behind like his punches. He's explosive. He has everything. But he needs to beat this guy in the first round, literally in the first round. He's got to come in and explode. If not, it's going to be a tough fight. If it goes to the ground, man, it's going to be tough. But we'll see, man. That's the thing with Barriault. There's only thing he lacks is like the takedown defense. His grappling skills, especially on his back, they're questionable. And this is exactly what Hernandez is going to want to take control. The grappling game. If he gets top control, it's going to be a long night for Marc-André Barriault. But if Marc-André Barriault comes out and does what he did best, man, when he was fighting in TKO and rising to the UFC, is just come out and explode and throw those punches, man. There's a reason why he's called Power Bar. Use it.
Yeah, I think Barriault could win. I think he could easily win this fight. You guys are making Anthony Hernandez out to be the boogeyman.
No, he's not. He's just a very durable fighter.
He's all right. He's pretty good, but he's been knocked out before. Kevin Holland put him out in 39 seconds. Exactly. Kevin Holland put him out in 39 seconds. Barriault could do the same.
Barriault probably has a stronger hit than Holland. So
yeah,
look, that's what I'm trying to tell you. He needs to beat him in the first power bar for a reason, man. He needs to beat him in that first round and just throw those haymakers, man. Boom, go, lights out.
Another Canadian fighting on this card is Tanner Bozer. He takes on
Tanner. I love
Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira. Rodrigo plus 142, the underdog. Bozer, the Bull Bozer from Canada. He's from, where the fuck is he from?
Tanner?
Nova Scotia.
Alberta.
No, he's from Calgary, if I'm not mistaken.
Fred, if he was from Nova Scotia, I'd know about it. All right, if he was a Nova Scotian boy or a New Brunswick guy, I would be well aware, and I would be talking about him all the time. But if you're from Alberta or out west, I'm not as familiar with those places. I've never been, so I don't, But, if he was from Nova Scotia, that's like, come on. I'm always representing for Nova Scotia. Oh, shit. Wait, stop. Because my parlay is already set on my computer here that I want to show you because I already have my parlay. So I'm going to do mine first, and then I'll take yours.
But you didn't talk. Who are you going to go for, Bozer or the Cemento, man?
Oh.
I didn't hear that.
Well, you'll hear it on my parlay, man.
Well, he's not on my parlays, but I think I would go with yeah, that's a tough one. It's a tough one.
Listen, man. Look,
I would probably go with Bozer. I'd probably go with Bozer.
Listen,
as long
Tanner
as he keeps
is
it
20-8 in his MMA career. He's 4-3 in the UFC. But if you look at the guys he's lost to, man, this guy just came in fighting heavy-duty guys. He lost to Cyril Gane. He lost to Andrei Arlovsky. He lost to Latifi. I mean, none of these three guys are guys that are nobodies. Tanner Bozer, man, he's an elite fighter. It's just too bad his record on the UFC doesn't look great. But, man, in his MMA career, this guy can come out and pound. He just has to be comfortable and do what he does best. He's so talented. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a tough fight. I wouldn't bet on it. He's not in my parlay. I'm not sure where that's going to go. I could see Nascimento winning. I could see Bozer winning. I'm not sure about that one. I'm leaning towards Bozer. He is the favorite. Yeah. Here's my parlay. We're going with Chidi Njokuani over Gregory Rodriguez, -123, the favorite. We got Pat Sabatini over Damon Jackson in the prelims. I'm very high on Sabatini. I think that's going to be a solid win for him. He is a very talented featherweight. And I've got Sarah McMahon as the slight underdog here over Aspen Ladd. I think Sarah McMahon is a superior grappler, and she's going to have strength and experience on her size enough to win either by submission or a decision if she can't finish her off. But I like Sarah McMahon as the underdog in a pretty big way here over Aspen Ladd. That's a 3-fight parlay. Njokuani, Sabatini, and McMahon. $20 gets you 124.85. It's a plus 506 parlay right now at bet99.com. That's Team Dave. McMahon, Sabatini, and Njokuani. Freddie, what you got?
I got Corey Sandhagen, Chidi Njokuani, Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira, and Anthony Hernandez.
All right. Let's see here. What did you have? Give it to me again.
Corey
Hold on.
Sandhagen.
I'm not ready. Wait. Sandhagen. Oh, Fred's going with the main event. He's throwing the main event in there. Sandhagen, Njokuani,
Nascimento Ferreira,
yeah,
and Hernandez.
Oh no, Fred, so unpatriotic. Going with
an
Hernandez.
anti-Canadian parlay.
Yeah,
hey,
really
man, the
is.
Canadians haven't done well lately, man. So Fred might have a point.
Johan Lainez won last week.
And I had it.
Except for
You can't
man.
say I'm anti-Canadian, man. Stop saying that.
Yeah. He's just picking against all the Canadians on this card. Corey Sandhagen, Chidi Njokuani, Rodrigo Nascimento Ferreira, and Anthony Hernandez. $20 gets you 206.65. It's a plus 893 parlay. That is pretty solid stuff from Team Fred. Big parlay. 1, 2, 3, 4 fight parlay for Freddie. All right. AJ, what do you got for me?
Dave, Super Dave, I'm going to tell you something. I like two of your picks, the Sarah McMahon pick and the Sabatini. I like that. But on my card, I'm going to go straight with the main card. I'm going to stay away from the prelims. But I'm going with Song Yadong for the win. I'm going with Chidi for the win.
Song Yadong for the win.
I told you that, man. You think I was joking? I don't flip-flop, man.
Wait,
you know, that schlong is going to win. That schlong is going to win, I'm telling you. Remember what I said. He's 24 years old.
Schlong Yadong. I mean, that's really going double on the penis references there. Schlong Yadong. All right. Schlong Yadong for the win.
And then we're going to go with the Chidi. Chidi. Bang, bang.
Yep.
We're going to go with that. And then we're going to go with Andre Fili. I think Andre Fili is going to be able to touchy-feely. It's all about touchy.
You're going with Yadong. You're going with Chidi. You're
going
going with touchy-feely. All right. I see where you're going.
You know?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go with Joe Piper.
Okay. Rowdy Joe Piper.
Rowdy Joe Piper. Or Piper. Whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to go with our Canadian guy, Tanner Bozer. I think Tanner can actually, win this fight. No doubt about it. Rodrigo came into the UFC 7-0, man. You know, he got 2 losses, one that became a no contest. The guy is a beast. But I'm telling you, Tanner, man, could throw some heavy, heavy bombs. The only thing with Nascimento, man, his defense, his defense is not great. So if Tanner can really capitalize on this guy's jaw, man, he's going to knock him out.
And that's
it. Let's hope it works out.
5-fight parlay.
And then,
main card
that's
only?
it. I'm not going to go with the rest, man.
That's it.
I'm not going to go any further. I was going to go with McMahon. I like Sabatini. I think Sabatini really has it. But I'm going to stay away from that. I'm going with this with this parlay, and I think he will win.
All right, there is
Dave.
AJ's main card parlay here for you. It's a 5-fight main card parlay. Song Yadong, Chidi Njokuani, Andre Fili, Joe Pfeiffer, and Tanner Bozer. $20 gets you $334.32. It's the biggest payout of any of the parlays. Plus $15.05, AJ. Bozer, Pfeiffer, Fili, Njokuani, and Song Yadong. I wish you
Dave,
luck. Yes.
Did you know that if you traded $1 for Vietnamese dongs, you would get 22,000 Vietnamese dongs for $1 dong?
Wow.
Let's do
That's
it.
a lot of dong.
That's a lot of dongs.
That's a lot of dongs, man. It's kind of like what Jeremy kind of went through in his career.
Why do you keep bringing up that guy? I don't know. It's weird. You got a fascination.
Well, at one point, yeah. I mean, back in the days, there wasn't internet, Dave. We knew them all, man. Pat knows what I'm talking about. Angelo might know what I'm talking about.
NASCAR silly season.
Maybe Dino Stakes. I don't know how old you are, Dino, but
what's the silly season?
What's happening, Fred? What season is it?
What is NASCAR silly season?
I have no idea.
It's when guys have contracts that finish and they're negotiating for their rides for next year. But get this, man. Tyler Reddick, he was driving the 8 car, and that guy signed a contract for 2024 with another team. That's in 2 years. That's crazy. And currently he's driving for Richard Childress Racing. And Richard Childress said, yeah, you want to leave us in 2 years, Tyler? Fuck you. Next year, I'm putting Kyle Busch in your car. So Kyle Busch just signed with Richard Childress Racing, and he's driving the 8 car, which is the car that Dale Earnhardt used to own, that his son used to drive, and his son never won much in it. And now Dale Earnhardt might have like the son he always wanted in Kyle Busch, which the Dale Earnhardt fans are going to hate because Kyle Busch and Dale Earnhardt kind of have a little rivalry going on. But anyways, Kyle Busch to Richard Childress Racing next year. Great
That's
news.
kind of strange that you can sign a contract in 2 years when you're with a current team like that.
I mean, that's the first time it's happened. But fuck you, Tyler Reddick. That's what Richard Childress said. Wow. You want to leave us in 2 years? Fuck you. Next year, you're not driving my car.
So where's he going to go then? He's going to be off a season.
Richard Childress might have a third car. It's not decided yet. But those places, those are like franchises. So right now, Richard Childress only has two cars. So if he wants to have a third one, he needs to buy a car from another owner.
Wow. Strange, man. Who's the most the highest paid driver in NASCAR right now?
I don't know, man, but I look at some of these houses that some of these guys are getting, man, and they're getting a lot of money, man. Trust me, man. Just Google Kyle Busch house, and you'll see he's living in a crazy mansion. Fucking Tony Stewart, I think, sold his house for $20 million recently. Whoa. I mean, these guys are making good money, man. The top of the line,
I'm gonna tell you,
making good money.
Listen, man, I had the experience, Freddie, back in Daytona, years ago, back in the 90s. I had an opportunity to see the Daytona 500 and be part of race week. It was race week. It was bike week. It was insane, man. And the amount of people that were coming out to see the race and the parties and the fans, man, it was so wild but good. I've never seen so many enthusiastic fans spending a whole week getting ready for race day, man. It was crazy, man. The tailgate parties, it was insane. The beaches were loaded, man. But let me tell you, man, you want to see muscle cars? Daytona at that time was insane.
You want to get to know Kyle Busch? Go on YouTube and Google Kyle Busch Rageaholic. It's a video from 2010 where people just took all the clips of him getting mad and they made an hour-long video that's hilarious. And that's from 2010. So you got 12 extra years of Kyle Busch being mad, man. But Kyle Busch, number 10 all-time, number 9 all-time on the win list, 60 career wins, number 1 amongst current active drivers. Kyle Busch is a legend, man.
Wow.
Busch brothers.
Is he part of the Busch family, the Busch beer empire?
Nah, he's just the brother of Kurt Busch. They're from Vegas.
That's road rage, man. That's real road rage.
Rageaholic. They're both rageaholics. Him and Kurt.
Good for them.
If you're not first, you're last.
I still don't really want to watch NASCAR. Like, I'm understanding a little bit more about it, but you're not selling it to me. Like, there's still nothing that I really... I don't understand
Dave.
What it is.
Dave, it's exciting, man. If you put up your speakers and you listen to it, like, high volume, and you
Crank
watch the race, and you get to see some of the way these guys drive and cut each other off, and the way that they're like inches away from their bumpers, and like you hope no accidents happen, and you're just like wondering how the hell do these guys do it? Try to do that shit here in the Quebec roads with the potholes and everything. It would be like a disaster, man. It'd be like the Titanic, like part 2. But this is what it is. It's so intense, and when an accident happens, holy shit! It's not just a fender bender. It's like highlight reel. It's crazy. And what's insane is that how many of these guys, like, man, it's a dangerous sport, but they walk away from like these crazy
nobody
accidents.
has died since Dale Earnhardt.
No,
when was that?
Which was a shame, man.
2001.
Yeah, he was like one of the greatest racers of all time.
NASCAR realized when Dale Earnhardt died that you can't lose your biggest star because that hurts business. So they made the car safe.
Well, that's good. You know,
it's a start, man. But that's the thing.
Make it
it's
as safe
like
as possible for these guys because it's scary.
Listen, man, it's like fast. Senna in Formula One. You remember that, Freddie? I mean, like these race car drivers, before they go out in the race, man, they do their last rites, literally, because this is a sport where you can go in, and doesn't mean you're actually going to finish the race. Being it like NASCAR or being it Formula One, I mean, we've seen like some crazy, spectacular accidents where sometimes they walk away, and you're like, holy shit, how did that happen? Where you see guys like Ayrton Senna when he crashed and he hit that wall, and it looked like nothing, man. It looked like, okay, big deal. It was just like a tire bump, but unfortunately, it was like tragic. He died. Like it's a sport, man, where you're like, your chances of dying are pretty high.
Yeah.
You know?
I like baseball. Nobody dies in baseball, pretty much. You know, that doesn't
except
happen.
for the pigeon that got hit. You remember that?
Oh, that's
remember
fine.
That pigeon
Who cares?
that flew
It's
by?
a bird.
Ref that had a heart attack once.
An umpire one time, but you know, it's a heart attack. But the bird that died, I mean, who cares? It's a bird.
That was like,
you know how I feel about birds.
Impressive.
Fuck
yeah,
birds.
Dave hates
birds are stupid.
Dave
anyways.
hates birds.
Yeah,
so if there's
I love
any animal activists that are watching, just to let you know, Dave has like fears of birds. He hates birds.
I don't have a fear. I just think that they're idiots. They suck.
You know, that highlight with the bird, I was like so saddened, man. He went up like
it exploded.
Fireworks here in Montreal, man. It was sad.
Yankees have won.
What's the timing of
how
that
many in a row?
Man?
4 in a row now. The Yankees have won. Yankees on a little hot streak. Beat Tampa 2 out of 3. Just beat Boston 2 in a row. Now we got the Brewers tomorrow night. What a team! Getting ready for October in a couple of weeks' time.
Crunch time.
We're getting ready. We're getting ready. What? What's the matter?
Let's go Blue Jays.
Blue Jays. I mean, I don't know about that. I wouldn't go
man,
that
to the
far.
heavy players. Let's go, man. Blue Jays.
All right.
Oh, shit. I almost dropped my set. Where's my Blue Jays hat?
Thank you, everybody, for joining us here tonight. Shout out Angelo Cantagonis. Yes, Angelo, I hit my parlay. Thank you. And I did not hear about that guy leaving. And, you know, I don't know. It's hockey stuff. I don't know about that. I don't know if AJ knows about it.
Listen,
doesn't
man.
really.
Listen,
Shout
man,
out
when you get
Silent
rid of
by
Chris
Deadly.
Nyland, forget it.
Shout out Silent by Deadly, Dino Steaks, Miss Brooklyn Lizard, everybody tuning in here live tonight on the Ringside Report Network. I'll be back here tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time with Johnny North to talk about pro wrestling and everything going on there. AEW did Dynamite last night, and I watched it, so I'll talk about it.
Coach, let me in.
Bryan Danielson beat Chris Jericho in the main event. It's a pretty good match. It'll be Danielson versus Moxley next week to crown a new AEW World Champion. What, AJ?
Are you going to talk about like all the controversy with like the Rock in his shoes and like not giving any money to the fighters? I'm just saying.
What's the controversy?
Apparently, like the new contract is that they have to wear like the Rock's shoes.
Yeah, and they don't get any money for wearing the Rock's shoes.
They're not getting
that the
anything,
UFC gives them?
and so there's all kinds of spoofs with the shoes, which I kind of like. They look nice, but yeah, the new deal means that the Rock gives them
so ugly.
Squat.
Well, that sucks.
It does suck.
Yeah. Well, maybe The Rock can do something about it. Give them all cars or something. I don't know. Thank you, Angelo, for joining us and for being a member for 20 straight months. Appreciate it. Join.ringsidereport.net if you have not joined already, or donate.ringsidereport.net. Donate.ringsidereport.net. I'll be back here tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, for the Pro Wrestling Show with Johnny North, right here on the Ringside Report Network.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.